Hello, viewers. This is Sean Harden, and I decided to post a reply to this girl's video here, which I found rather comical. Um, let's start by addressing the question of does HIV even exist? Dr. Montagnier, Luc Montagnier from the Pasteur Institute in France, admits publicly, and who won the Nobel Award, by the way, for so-called supposedly discovering this so-called HIV, and he admits publicly that he never properly isolated the microbe. He never performed the proper procedure involved in isolating a microbe and determining whether or not a microbe is pathogenic. Two, I challenge everybody viewing this to do a search and see if you can find even one photograph of a sample of plasma from a person labeled as an AIDS patient that shows that plasma flooded with virus entities, and all of them will be identical. There's not one. I have looked, and I've looked real hard. There is not one out there. And if you find one, if you do happen to find one in your search, whoever decides to take up this challenge, by all means, pass that information on to me, and I will look at it. Where are the photographs of so-called HIV? I've only found two that are labeled electron microscope photographs, and neither of those two are referenced. There are no references cited as to the source of the photographs. Now, if you want to believe that so-called HIV exists, and if you want to believe that this all powerful, this deity like, this mystical microbe is pathogenic and is so clever, so omnipresent that it can go undetected by an electron microscope, ask yourself a couple of simple questions here. Dr. Nancy Padian did a study. It's known as the Padian study, and I think her name is, excuse me, I think her name is spelled Padein or something like that, in which she studied couples in which one partner was labeled as an HIV patient and one partner was not. And most of them were not using condoms. Thankfully, good for them. Condoms are very toxic pieces of junk, and you will get disease conditions from using condoms, but that's another topic. And Dr. Padian, in her research, found that not one of those mixed couples, not one of those couples got contracted this so-called HIV from their partner who was labeled as an HIV patient. There was a study done in Australia where they researched their sex trade industry, and they found that not one prostitute in Australia contracted so-called HIV, nor did any clients of any prostitute contract so-called HIV. Now, let's talk about what might be the actual causes of diseases for folks who do have legitimate health problems. And I'm not saying that there's nobody with legitimate health problems, that there are people who do. And I'm going to preface by saying this. For those of you who do have legitimate health problems, stop blaming your sex partners for your health problems. Your health problems are your problems and yours alone. Now, if you are sick because you are engaging in anal sex, oral sex, or anything else bizarre like that, then stop doing it. Anal sex and oral sex are very unnatural, and you don't see that going on anywhere else in the animal kingdom. If you are sick because you are shooting up heroin or smoking crack cocaine or methamphetamines or LSD or drinking liquor or using pharmaceutical drugs or a combination of all of those, then stop doing that. If you are sick because you are eating flesh all the time, then stop doing that. There is nothing mystical about health. The vast majority, about 99% of all health issues, of all disease that people have, are self inflicted. And I do not and never have and never will believe the sexual transmission of disease theory, because if humans were really that weak of a species that we could get disease from nothing more than having sex, we would have gone extinct a long time ago. Unless you're talking about, as I said before, these really bizarre types of sex, like oral sex and anal sex and stuff like that. Folks, stop being gullible. Stop believing everything that these fraudulent pseudoscientists on the mainstream media say. Stop. Modern day science has become like the new religion, and in some ways it's even worse than religion. There is nothing scientific about what these people do. In fact, if anything, these people should be doing some prison time for perpetrating such a fraud like this on the public. And before I close, and I think I'm coming close to my time because this site has a 10-minute limit, if House of Numbers is showing in your area. That movie just came out. That's a documentary by Brent Leung from Canada concerning this AIDS scam. I don't know if it's not showing everywhere yet, but wherever you are on the planet, if House of Numbers is showing in your area, I highly recommend seeing that documentary. It's a very well done piece of work. This is Sean Harden. You can check out my program. I've interviewed some very credentialed people concerning this AIDS scam, and I think you'll find those interviews very interesting at truther9.blip.tv. Have a good day and a good evening.